January 8th, 2014. Happy New Year to everyone. The time is 5:40. I want to take just a moment to congratulate our board member, Dr. Henry Aaron, for being nominated to sit on the Social Security Advisory Board. We are so pleased to have him as a part of our board and nominated for other boards as well. Thank you so much.
Let me thank you, but temper your this nomination first surfaced approximately 4 years ago. This is the third time my name is being sent up, and let me say, I'm not sitting on the edge of
Well, we think it is. We congratulate you nonetheless.
Thank you.
Roll call. Dr. Aaron. Dr. Akhtar. Dave Burns. Dacia. Kate Sullivan Hare. Dr. Koo. Kevin Scher.
Here.
Collard Pitts.
Here.
Turnage. Mr. McPherson.
Here.
Diane Lewis. We have a quorum, and we'll move forward. You've all received the minutes for the meeting of December 11th. Are there any corrections or notations to those minutes? Thank you. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We will move to the Executive Director report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 7 items to report to you on. The first one being the Financial Sustainability Report. As you recall, our legislation requires us to submit a report outlining our plan to be financially sustainable, which is required under the Affordable Care Act, and the board approved that at the last board meeting on December 11th. It was due to the mayor and the council on December 15th. We sent it to them on the 13th, 2 days before the deadline. And the final report is on our website at hbx.com with a summary of the public comments that we received. The second item is related to the report, and that is our effort currently to draft a rule that will articulate how we plan to implement the assessment mechanism. And our approach is going to be consistent with in the entire 2013, where we were trying to be as transparent as possible and get as much public feedback as possible. So unlike regular rulemaking where you draft a rule, potentially adopt it, and then get public comment, what we're going to do is draft, our staff is going to draft the rule. We're going to post it on our webpage and seek public comment. We'll review public comment that we received on draft. Then we'll bring the rule either revised or as is to the board for your approval with recommendations. Assuming the board approves the draft rule, then it will go into the rules code here, and it will be open for public comment. I think the comment period is 30 days. And assuming there's a council review period, then it gets adopted. Our approach is really transparency up front to give everyone a chance to comment, and then bring it to you, and then you'll be able to receive further comments. The third item is a reminder that this month there are 2 hearings at the council. The first one is Thursday the 16th at 11, and that's a roundtable. That's the regular oversight roundtable that Chairwoman Alexander has, looking at our efforts. So both the chair of the board and I will be presenting testimony at that. The second hearing is on our permanent legislation, which is the legislation currently in effect that creates one big marketplace. The permanent legislation is yet to be voted on. So the hearing on the permanent bill is on the 29th of January at 11 a.m. And related to that, actually, on the 7th of January, this week, there was a legislative day at the council, and our procurement legislation, which, if you recall, our temporary exemption from PPRA expires in February, and so we were looking for the permanent clarification. That legislation was put on the consent calendar and passed. So the next step is for it goes to the mayor and then for congressional review. So I wanted to make sure you were aware of that early decision by the council. I wanted to also let you know that we have 2 new staff members who have joined our team. Stephen has joined us, and I don't think he's here, right? Okay. He is our new data person. So we are in a better position to comb through the data that we have access to through DC HealthLink and produce more useful information about enrollment. So we're very excited to have him. And the second person is Holly Whelan. She recently joined us. She comes from CMS, and she was in charge of their, is she here? No. Okay. She was in charge of their Navigator program, and so she's going to be doing similar things for us, leading our efforts around navigators, IPAs, and similar issues. So we're very excited to have her join our team. The next personnel change I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of is Jeff Gabardi. He is, his last day as general counsel with us was January 3rd. And currently, Purvi Kemp, who is here, Purvi is our interim general counsel. I wanted to make sure you were aware of that. I talked briefly about 2 other things, Madam Chair and members of the board. I think two meetings ago we talked about what we need to do in 2014. And so I had asked my staff to compile a list of the policy decisions and potentially the working groups and other initiatives that we had discussed in 2013 that are on the to-do list for 2014. And based on that list, the staff will be coming back to you with recommendations on how to prioritize all of the things on the agenda. I can guarantee you that we will not be able to do everything on the to-do list, so we're going to need some direction from you in terms of priorities. So our plan is to have that done in the next couple of weeks and made available for decision-making by the next board meeting. Finally, I wanted to mention our data release. Now that we have a person who can focus on data 100% of his time, we are able to produce much more fruitful information about our enrollees. So our goal is to release data this Friday, and it will include information about how many people have enrolled through DC HealthLink, how many people, not just account holders that we had in the past, how many people are in qualified health plans, how many people enrolled through DC Health and signed up, were determined eligible for Medicaid, how many people are enrolled through the SHOP, through the employer side. We'll also be able to provide information about certain demographic information, age categories of enrollment, et cetera. So I'm excited about the upcoming data release, and we're just combing through to make sure the numbers are solid. And our plan is to release the enrollment data and demographic information this Friday. And with that, Madam Chair, I conclude my report.
Thank you very much. Moving on to programmatic updates. Absolutely.
So it's exciting to hear that the enrollment data will come out. I wonder if it's possible in the future to see if we can coordinate when enrollment data are released so that it comes out a little bit or closer to the before the board meetings, so that it's a little easier to talk at the board meetings about what we've learned about enrollment, which is, of course, a privilege. Hard to talk about it in this meeting if the data haven't come out yet.
Yes, and we should think about frequency of release and timing.
I mean that the data release
Yeah.
for the board meetings, both could change. So you're trying to keep lined up somewhat with how the federal government is doing things, and that makes sense. Anyway, it would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Moving forward, programmatic updates, ED enrollment. Ken Robinson, you're up next.
Probably best to stay on this side with the mic. There is a mic over there, is it? Oh, no, the phone can't hear.
What I was told.
Yep.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
So, I was asked to provide a little bit of an update on where we are with our business partner and the business partner relationships that we have. As you know, back in July, we structured relationships with these three business partners, the D.C. Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and Restaurant Association, all of whom had a target goal, objective of spending time with their members that are 50 and fewer, to try and do aggressive education and outreach to those folks, recognizing that they have some limitations on their ability to actually physically enroll folks. We spent a great deal of time trying to educate the memberships to make certain that they were doing the kind of outreach that helped build brand recognition, and also to help us begin to persuade small business owners what the business case would be for them actually purchasing through DC Health Link, recognizing that under the current law and current structure, small businesses that are 50 and fewer really have an obligation to offer insurance. Certainly there is no penalty associated with them not doing so. And if they offered a plan that they offered, didn't have to be affordable. So we were really trying to make certain that they understood what their robust options were, the fact that when they purchased through DC Health Link, what the benefits would be, the tax credit being a large part of that. Obviously in 2014, the only way they have access to it is purchasing through DC Health Link. So we spent a great deal of time trying to get through their memberships with a real focus on target segments within their populations. For example, dealing with the Restaurant Association, recognizing that they had a great number of their members who were small businesses and a number of seasonal and part-time employees. We spent a lot of time talking about the individual families market with them and how it could help their employees, many of whom, like I said, are part-time, would not, probably wouldn't go into a group plan to participate in the industry. So the total number of DC Health Link specific events that were held by both of those in that time frame that I talked about, July through December, was 62 events. We had about 1,313 distinct, small businesses who participated in those events. We had a number of exposure events. Those are the events where It wasn't necessarily DC Health Link specific, but we were able to wean our way into a program that either they were hosting or that they were helpful in getting us involved in those various groups. I call those my exposure events. We had 94 distinct events like that where we were able to at least put our information out there, advance our brand, and provide some kind of limited education to those who were at the session. And we touched thereabouts about 48, 67 individuals. We started to build from our interactions with our business partners contacts database, and we have about 1,200 distinct businesses that we've built those relationships. So we've gone somewhere, we've been collecting cards and that sort of thing, and those are the folks that we're primarily communicating with, not only to provide updates about what the plan options are, but we're now sending our business bulletin to. We have been working to send our producer news to, and what tips that we can provide to folks along the way. If we're finding unique issues, for example, that relate to small businesses, we're trying to advance that through building our database so that at the point when we no longer have our tight relationships with our three business partners through the grant agreement that we have a robust business population that we're communicating with that had shown some type of interest in DC Health Link that we can continue to maintain over time. In terms of the type of time that we spent, I talked about these industries. There were 32% of the activity that we had was in the restaurant area, 29% was in consulting, we did some retail, and we did about 8% not-for-profits. We think that we can do a whole lot more in the not-for-profit space with our business partners, and we'll be looking to do more of that given the number of not-for-profits that we've got in this area. Most of them currently are offering insurance to their employees, have as their mission to make certain that their employees are covered and the like. Also pressed them to make certain that they were using all phases of communication, both with their members and the business community at large. And social media was a large part of that. We had about 264,000 different visits to, maybe it was repeat as well, visits to their websites where they had created a special link to DC Health Link where folks were going in, getting information. So it was good to see that there was robust interest among their members to keep going through their portal to get to DC Health Link and to begin to learn information about what they were doing in their own membership rosters to help educate. We had email blasts. There were 112 email blasts that we did. There were 53 radio or news articles that we were able to do. They did 4 press releases of their own, kind of tailing on to the things that we had already done as well. So that was kind of the business partners, but we also did our own events. In addition to the business partners educating their membership, the business development team was also creating its own events, and we had some 44 of those individual events just for small businesses where we touched 1,800 folks through that effort, just a little over 1,800 folks through that effort. Most of those were in the not-for-profit sector, construction, restaurant, creative economy, and general business through DSB or through the DSLBD, the local small business development unit, where we have a great education partnership with them to do a series of educations with them that will continue into 2014. And then, of course, we had a robust outreach to brokers. We had about 20 distinct events for brokers where we touched about 800 of those brokers to make certain that they were educated and to let them know what we were doing with small business clients so that we can create the relationships. In addition to that, of course, we created relationships not only between small businesses and brokers. I remember I told you last time we were also working with the assistants to try and marry relationships so that everybody who could help in trying to educate and encourage our small business partners to participate, we could do that. Some of the things that we're finding as we look forward in terms of what some of the items we'll need to go back and spend some time on. We need to really kind of educate our small businesses about what their selection options are. we're finding that a number of them really don't understand as robustly as we need them to the three ways you can purchase through DC Health Link to access our 267 different plans. And so we'll want to go back and explain a little bit more in this session, in this quarter, how they can purchase, how it would benefit their employees, some of the things that they can do in terms of the considerations that they have for their employees, and do the cost comparisons. What we're looking for, hopefully, is to provide a couple of those cases that have already gone through, provide what the business case was for them to purchase through DC Health Link, plus to give some cost comparisons so that they can look at what was spent last year versus what they now can buy through DC Health Link. How many options are now available to them for that same money? And then to continue to try and encourage them to, as they come up to renewals, begin to look at DC Health Link in a robust, more robust way. We're also coordinating with some of our TPAs. We decided that part of the enhanced assistance that we're going to provide to both brokers and to small businesses is to provide an opportunity to educate some super users as the third-party administrators. We'll then work with the GAs as well to kind of get some of their staff so that we can expand our reach. I mean, right now we're everybody comes to us, but we know that the traditional relationships with small businesses is through their brokers, and so we want to work with the brokers to make certain that they're comfortable to do it. And the brokers also have their traditional relationships with their third-party administrators. So we've been spending a great deal of time trying to think about what ways that we can do that. We created the concierge line for the brokers so that they can call us specifically and get them out of the contact center to answer any specific questions that they're having about how to enroll their small businesses. And we're working with the chambers, the various organizations, to create enrollment opportunities at their locations. We've been talking about doing business-specific quarterly enrollment for small businesses, and started the planning for that already. Then there's another relationship we haven't yet fleshed out, but we'll be coming back to talk about, and that is the MoneyWise. Kelvin Boston, who does MoneyWise on PBS, some of you may know, did a great event at one of the churches here. It was a kind of a pilot event. A number of churches have indicated that they want to do more of that, larger churches. So we're going to look at maybe creating a partnership with him in some kind of way, and the carriers and others, to see if we can do more of those kinds of events. It's branded as MoneyWise events. They have a very large small business following, and we'd like to leverage his list and his opportunities. And then finally, I'll tell you about the CBS events, because we did structures of partnership. Primarily, it's focused on individuals. I'd like to talk about my business partnerships that I have with these corporations who are doing some great work for us and with us to help us get the word out about DC Health Link and educating consumers and the like. So at those events, we did both. You remember, we did branded events, and we did also DC Health Link specific events. Those public health events, we did about 9 of those. We had about 390 people participate in those public health events, where we had some pretty decent. A lot of folks who usually come to those CBS events are those who are uninsured, and so it was great for us to be partnering with them. They want to continue the partnership, and we want to continue the partnership with them. We'll be looking to try and expand that and see how we can do that. We have events coming up this weekend. There are branded events. We've got 5 going on in various locations. We did 10 of those branded events last year, or at least in the last months from October forward. And we touched about 244 folks. So all in all, we had about 19 events with CBS as our planned events that we did with them, with about 634 folks that we touched. So that got, there's a lot more that I obviously could tell you, but my time is limited, obviously.
Any questions? Thank you very much. DC Health Link update?
I'm the sisters.
Oh, and the sisters, okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Saquita Cantilina Horta. I'm Associate General Counsel and Policy Advisor here for the DC Health Benefit Exchange Authority. I'm our lead contact for the DC Health Link Sister program, and I really want to thank you all for providing us with the opportunity to update you on the current efforts of our sister grantee organizations as well as our certified assisters. As you know, our DC Health Link Sister program is comprised of 33 grantee organizations and almost 200 certified assisters, and accountability is a very important component of the program for board guidance. And so assisters are reporting their activities to us on a weekly basis through a tool known as the Assister Reporting Tool, or ART. And we're really excited at this point in the program to actually have 3 months worth of data on the program to really help strategically focus our efforts in 2014, especially as we close and near the end of open enrollment on March 31st. So out of respect for time, I just want to provide you with a couple of top-line data points from our Assister Reporting Tool. In the past 3 months, over 2,100 assister hours have been spent on over 550 outreach events throughout the district, which is just an incredible number. When all of the outreach events are combined, a total audience of over 64,000 people was reached in the first 3 months of the program, and over 7,700 personal interactions between consumers and assisters occurred at these outreach events. So one thing that's important to understand is all of these outreach events included enrollment opportunities. But of course, many of the earlier events were really focused on education and raising awareness about DC Health Link. Now that it's 2014, all of the sister events are really focused on enrollment. We also have, of course, learned that the majority of consumers who rely on assisters are uninsured. 55.6%. So they really are impacting the target population because, of course, the program is designed for uninsured and hard-to-reach populations. I know that you, as board members, have asked about in previous meetings about assister time spent and how long it's taking for an assister to enroll a consumer. So we have some good data back on that. Not surprisingly, there is a statistically significant difference in the amount of time spent with consumers at the later stages of engagement, things like completing an eligibility determination or completing insurance enrollment. That might take 1 or 2 hours, even more, depending on the situation, versus the earlier stages of engagement. If the consumer is asking for enrollment help, or if the assister is helping a consumer set up an account on the web portal. And so those things could just take a few minutes. It could take up to an hour. It really is situation specific, obviously based on consumer language needs, low levels of health literacy. A lot of times are kind of lengthening the time assisters are spending with individual consumers. The most important thing to understand is our DC Health Link Sister program really is changing based on these kind of lessons learned. So just one example that I'll provide you is that the ART showing us the gender breakdown of consumers was really skewing very heavily toward females, even though we know that males are among the target population of uninsured and hard-to-reach populations here in D.C. And once assisters learned the statistics about their collective data, they really designed more strategies to target males. And so that's where you see some of the targeting events for the Air Jordan Taxi, Air Jordan Gamma Blue shoe releases, kind of meeting people where they are. If they know that it's a lot of, especially young males, standing in line to buy these new shoes, then the sisters are going there to enroll them, right? And so thanks to those and similar events, we've really seen that the gap in favor of our female consumers has dropped from 17.2% to 12.6%. So the strategies are working, and assisters' overall gender breakdown is 56% to 43%. So it is continuing to go down, and the sisters are making similar adjustments to ensure that all of their enrollment activities really target young adults and other key demographics. So for young people, it might be late night Denny's or a nightclub or something. We've had sisters really meet people where they are, and it's really throughout the DC community. So don't ever about people's jobs. The DC Yellow Cab of DC on Bladensburg Road, they showed up at that site and helped enroll taxi cab drivers and talked with them about the Affordable Care Act, farmers markets, fitness classes, the Z-Go-Go fitness classes that are really popular. As sisters have been at Safeways and McDonald's, again, meeting people where they are. There was an event at a shopping center called Handshake Hot Dog and Healthcare event. So they've been really creative. There's a barbershop spot and beauty outreach day. The places of worship and community health centers, a good natural traffic flow. But in terms of meeting people where they are, one of the things we've learned is even the young parents, the 20-something and 30-something parents of young children, have a lot of school meetings, so pre-K and PTA and those kinds of things. So going and figuring out a way to build onto those school events or Sunday school or those kinds of things. So they're being very, very creative to meet people where they are. The second thing, in addition to the data update that we wanted to share with you, is that continuing education is really a top priority for our sisters. Our fourth DC HealthLink Assure Program monthly continuing education meeting, and it's actually our first continuing education meeting of 2014, takes place tomorrow, January 9th, from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And these half-day sessions are really important because they provide the sisters with the opportunity to network with each other, to learn the latest policy information available, to receive on-site IT and technical support for their DC HealthLink system-related challenges. And they also get to meet and hear from our exchange partners. So in past meetings, they've heard from representatives from the broker community as their fellow trained experts. We've brought in and continue to bring in members of the Department of Healthcare Finance and the Economic Security Administration in response to many of Medicaid questions and others. They also receive an opportunity to really receive acknowledgement and encouragement from our DC leadership. So our Executive Director, Mila Kaufman, is coming tomorrow to provide a thank you and a few words of encouragement to his sisters, which they'll very much appreciate. And just most importantly, these monthly continuing education meetings really help the sisters understand how our DC HealthLink communications plan and how our online IT system improvements and their activities are really a direct result of us being responsive to and incorporating a sister feedback. They really are our trusted boots on the ground throughout all 8 wards from the district. And the sisters are able to pinpoint a lot of the challenges first and immediately bring them to our exchange attention so that we can make real-time course corrections and continue to improve the consumer experience as DC HealthLink progresses. So in conclusion, a lot of urgent enrollment work to do in 2014, but we really have learned a lot in 2013. And our sisters really continue to improve their skill sets. They continue to really provide DC residents with help, the people who need them the most. And they also provide real-world valuable insights to us in order to help improve DC HealthLink overall. So with that, I thank you again, and I'll take any questions if you have them.
So I have a question. So given the past, the January 1 period, and so now we're moving into the period where enrollment by March 31 is probably our priority on where the assisters will be, trying to get people, how leading to a change in strategy in terms of, what you're asking the assisters to do. Along those lines, are we changing themes in terms of, what sorts of information we're bringing? Obviously, actually how to help people enroll is critical.
Yeah, thank you for that. First, I do want to underscore that one of the things that is really important in the program is this partnership connection, so making sure that we really acknowledge all of our trained experts. And so, as Kelvin mentioned, just building on his remarks, sisters really have been engaging in some very real-world, on-the-ground relationships that have leveraged and positive results with their fellow brokers. And so the tag team of the sisters and brokers has been really helpful, and we continue to nurture those relationships and those networks at our level here at the exchange, but they are doing some really interesting things with brokers, make sure that we're providing the full continuum of coverage and need for all consumers. And that's one thing that assisters and brokers really are teaming together. Another is that making that shift so that all of the events moving forward really are enrollment events. There's always been an enrollment opportunity because every assister has a portable office, a laptop computer, and a portable printer scanner, and a Wi-Fi connection and all of that. But really making sure that every event is framed as such, not just an outreach event, but an enrollment event. In terms of the overarching messaging, I'll leave that to my colleague Linda, but one of the things that we really are trying to get across is we understand that assisters are going to be relied upon in different ways moving forward. As you mentioned, people, as they get health insurance cards in their hands, are going to have questions about how to use those cards, right? And so they may double back with our assisters. We're trying to focus our assisters on getting people enrolled, but because they're such trusted community members, may also come to them when they have problems using insurance, when a particular drug isn't on the formulary or when their particular favorite doctor isn't in network or something. So that's why this continuing education is so important, because we want to be able to equip our experts on the ground with the skills necessary to help consumers with whatever is coming up with relation to these new opportunities available, while also staying focused on our directive, which is to focus on enrollment.
And I would just add, we are in close contact, my entire team and I, with other state marketplaces to learn from some of what they're doing with outreach and how they're shifting some of the information they're providing to consumers, to making sure consumers understand that there's a penalty that may kick in if you have to if you don't have an exemption from having health insurance coverage. So we're trying to learn lessons from other states before we finalize how we articulate that message here. But that's kind of that's the shift. Whereas before, the education was very broad and didn't necessarily focus on, and here's what will happen, you don't take steps to enroll. So we are in that shift.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Update on the faith-based initiative. Good evening. Happy New Year to you.
So, as we've began to develop the faith-based initiatives last year, we had our focus was looking at how the faith-based organizations throughout the city could assist us with not only educating but enrolling district residents in plans on DC Health Link. So we actively engage faith leaders across the city in a number of denominations to help us to promote, educate, and encourage the enrollment. Part of the strategy for our faith-based initiative has included what we call Interfaith Weekends, which started with what we call Interfaith Sunday. And our Interfaith Sunday was basically from the theme, from the pulpit to the pews, a look at DC Health Link and its impact and its significance to the congregants of that particular church. So each Sunday, we kicked it off on November the 17th, and each Sunday we focused on particular churches or places of worship in the city where we would push the enrollment into DC Health Link. We've involved not only speakers on our senior level staff, but we've also involved some council members and community leaders to assist us with speaking from the pulpit. We also have, as you very well know, a cadre called the Faith Leaders in Support of the Health Benefit Exchange. So they've been very, very active in helping us to promote that message and get that out. We've also, as another strategy, have opened an enrollment center at churches in Ward 7 and in Ward 8, and those enrollment centers are open on Sunday, mainly during the week as well, from 9 to 12, and again from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We will be opening 4 new centers as we move forward in this last stretch of the race in Wards 5, 4, and 6. And those enrollment centers will prove to be very valuable as people sort of look at church as a trusted place they can come and get enrolled. So we learned that as a lesson learned from last year. The faith-based initiative is also going to include a number of concerts to what we consider a cross-disciplinary look. We're infusing the Young Invincibles and the faith-based as well as some of the medical providers in events together. So last year, we were able to pull together the assisters and involve them heavily in our outreach effort, where heretofore they were not. And so that proved very valuable to us as they began to give us additional ideas. There's an upcoming enrollment prayer breakfast that will be held in Ward 3, and we also will be pushing the Interfaith Weekend with Interfaith Saturdays and Interfaith Fridays, reaching out to the Islamic community as well as the Seventh-day Adventists on Saturdays. That's some of the things that we'll be doing in the faith-based arena as we move forward.
Questions?
The question's not about faith-based, it just occurred to me about the previous topic. There was an article recently on the fact, one of the journalists reporting the results of research on the impact of extension of Medicaid coverage on the use of emergency rooms. And that just triggered the thought that a lot of people go to emergency rooms aren't insured. So, are we halting in emergency rooms?
Well, yeah.
Yes, so as you know, we have a certified application counselor program, and it's essentially the same standards as for our DC HealthLink assisters, but there's no grants involved. And so far, the applicants for that have been hospital systems here in the district. I think 2 have been gone through the entire process, and there are some in the pipeline. We are hoping to have the modular training available online by the end of this month. So the hospital staff can be trained properly. Until then, we've offered the initial systems that came in wanting to be certified help by offering essentially our DC HealthLink assisters to be stationed in their locations until they get their own certification.
Maybe what you're saying amounts to what I'm now going to ask, but it was striking that it's really in the interest of the hospitals to try and get people enrolled if they come in without coverage into the emergency room. So what I'm asking is, are we making an active pitch to hospital administrators? This is something you really can't not do. You have to do this for your own self-interest.
Yes. So the short answer is yes, and recently...
That's all the answer I need.
Okay. Okay, and we are working, just so you know, through our various business partners like the Chamber here. They recently hosted a breakfast where I spoke, Kelvin and I spoke, and it was the health committee of the DC Chamber is chaired by Regina. Thank you. Who is with MedStar. And so she has been a very good conduit for us, and Howard was there, and Sibley, thank you, and children, especially, yeah, a bunch of systems. So we're actively engaged and hoping to have the training up this month. One thing I wanted to add about the faith-based presentation. You know, on a weekly basis, my team, we meet and talk about, well, what went right, what do we need to do differently. And I know an ongoing topic is, are the outreach events working in terms of what are we seeing enrollment? What are we seeing? And there's no perfect way to measure all of these events, so we started to look at accounts created and other data sources that we have to try to correlate. It's not a perfect correlation, but it's interesting to see if there's an increase in accounts opened or enrollments that coincide with some of these events. And we noticed that there's very strong correlation, actually a huge jump in accounts created associated with the faith-based events. Huge. And so we have an extra push to do more. The other events, we haven't found a strong correlation. We're committed to doing everything, but because we know that these faith-based events are resulting in accounts being opened and then ultimately enrollments, we want to emphasize that effort of what we're doing on the ground.
Just on that, I had a Washington Post reporter call up from the lifestyle section and that was looking for, a story idea, and I thought he should contact you about your efforts at the church level. He seemed to be interested. I'll send you his contact information.
Good, thank you.
Other questions? Thank you. At this point, we are moving, did you have some other?
Did you want to do public comment?
Other public comments, I'm sorry.
Well, actually, can I address a question to Kevin or anybody? Is there anything that we're doing that we could do to make things better for you guys?
Well, I think the question, you're referring to the brokers,
Yes.
We have working very closely with Mila and her team issues related to working through the website through its entirety to a point where we get confirmation from Health Link, and then the other issue, once you get all the way to the site, is to make sure that those 834s get over to the carrier, and then the carrier sends the bills out. We're having, we're not polling this statistically, but the feedback I'm getting is that there is interest. A lot of times there's price comparisons, existing plans versus new plans on the exchange, but it's not always easy for some of the brokers to talk to. And I'm talking to a small subset of brokers to actually work through the website process and get that enrollment done. I can think of, again, anecdotal examples where there are brokers timing and their efforts to actually complete the process. But I know that staff from leadership on down are working hard at that with a concierge number.
So you feel you're getting, you have access and you're getting the response when you see problems? Is that a fair statement?
Well, I think things, we're hopeful that things will continue to improve in terms of the website itself and alternatives to the website if you can't get through because of, there are certain obstacles that users are encountering, and we're working with staff to work right through those obstacles. Sense is that, these are difficult trade-offs for leadership to decide, how to devote resources in terms of the picture stuff of eliminating some of those obstacles on the site, but they're also dedicating resources to making sure that specific cases are being able to move through the process. We have gotten my family on the exchange.
I'm very excited about that.
We're waiting for a bill.
We're on that.
The 834 has gone to the carrier, but there are obstacles, and we're working through those. We know that staff is working through those as well. We know that this is a challenging enterprise maximize your enrollment, and we're hopeful things will continue to improve as we move into the quarter.
So I'd just like to give kudos to Kevin, his efforts. We've learned a whole lot from brokers, both brokers who call us, but we know that they're enrolling, and brokers who call us, and that kind of feedback and information. And Kevin brought in a team to meet with Diane and myself, and through Lee Bethel, who is the chairperson of the producer advisory group. We received a list of suggestions on how to improve the broker experience with our website, which has been very useful in terms of helping us prioritize some of the fixes and things that we want to do. So Kevin has been extremely helpful to our entire team in learning and discovering about some of these technical issues. And also from these discussions internally, we figured out that we needed to do a better job with the outreach sessions, the webinars, the how to use the web portal feature. So, as Kelvin mentioned earlier, we've initiated a more robust program where we're going to train the trainers from the TPAs and the general agents, and have some super users who can then go out and work with others. So I just wanted to thank you for helping us with that effort.
Well, we appreciate all the access we've gotten from leadership level on down in terms of resources, and we know that it's a very challenging window to get those resources to help specific cases and more broadly on some trends we're seeing and some ways of addressing specific obstacles that are coming up more routinely.
If I understand what you're saying, tell me if it's right or wrong.
Sure.
You don't necessarily, I mean, there are problems, there's not getting solved as fast as either side might like in particular cases because resources are limited. It is a hard problem. But what I'm hearing you say is that there are not problems of communication, that you're the line open and when you have a problem, you know who to talk to and you're getting response to your concern. If that's not correct, I'd like to hear it.
We are, but we're getting answers, and we found that staff has been very open. I think what I'm more concerned about, and this is admittedly speculative on my part, is I'm not interacting with the vast majority of producers out in the community, and they aren't necessarily getting that kind of access for an obvious reason. You've got limited amounts of resources. You can look at the numbers that you have here. You don't have an army. So you have to shift from a site where there are problems, which is designed to handle a large volume of users, to individual workarounds or you have a place for it. They have the users who are really sophisticated at the tricks and the tips for working through the site in areas where it may not be as intuitive as we would like it to be. The demographic of the brokers is such where their expertise is in helping consumers choose plans that work for their employees, their families, their price point, the rest. It's not necessarily being whizzes on this kind of site, which has some of the new challenges that are plaguing other sites. And so they're learning. But my concern is not so much with the folks who I'm dealing with, because they're, we're speaking with a pretty loud
You're at the end of the iceberg and you're worried about what's underwater, so to speak.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Brokers who may be discouraged, they have customers and are working with consumers who are saying, this is a good value on the exchange, we want this plan, and then find that they just can't get themselves through that process. Sure.
And Kevin got to say that in terms of his access, we talk at least once a month at 6 in the morning. Is that to say 5:30, 6 o'clock?
Finishing up our respective workouts.
Well, we're today,
And I'll tell you with great conviction, Mila is always working out before I am. So now I hear that you're biking it.
Thank you. Other questions?
Is it anybody else that wanted to offer comments from the?
Okay. Thank you much for coming. We're going to move to the closed session. This concludes the public portion of the meeting. Pursuant to D.C. Code Sections 2-575B2 and 31-3171.11, the board will move to closed session to discuss contracting issues. I have a motion to move into closed session. Thank you. We'll have a roll call vote. Dr. Aaron?
Yes.
Dr. Arr? Kate Hare? Who? Kevin Lewis? Khalid Pitts?
Yes.
Lewis, yes. Thank you so much. That concludes our business. We'll move into executive session.